All right, cool. All right, everyone. So welcome back to the Celestia Core Dev call. This is Core Dev call 6. On the agenda, we'll do the roll call, working group update, then we're going to go over the CIPs. So first, we'll start off with a roll call from the consensus side. Evan from the core app team, present.
Hello, I'm here.
From Strangelove, I believe Alex is here.
Yep, I'm here. Also good to see you guys.
Welcome from the IBC team. I think Susanna's here.
Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
Awesome. I don't know if anyone from Binary Builders is here. I could be wrong, but if you are, please speak up. That's fine. Let's move to Informer. I think Ethan is here.
Hey guys.
Hey. From the DA side, we got Celestia Node. I think Wondertown is here.
Hey.
Hey. And we got Iger as well. There's some Iger
Okay.
here.
Hey, Janis.
Hey, Yanni. All right. So for working group updates, I can try to fill in from what I do know. I think from the DA working group, Wonderton, we're going to talk about CIP Schwab, but I don't know if there's anything else you want to share with the group.
I don't think there are any.
Sorry. Okay. Do you guys have anyone who attended the interface working group? Any kind of update about the work stream there? Because I know that Callum and Evan are talking about adding new things for the interface, even if there's no CIP. Do you guys have any updates from that meeting?
We do have. They're not substantial. We decided that Column will work on the CRC on draft documents that he will share with us for review. Column, correct me if I'm wrong.
You're right.
Sounds good. And then update from the ZK working group. So far, the ZK working group, they have a call later today. They already submitted a CIP. And we kind of gave feedback on the CIP because it was more about adding a library to the code base versus adding a specification. So we're going to talk about it in the upcoming ZK working group call in, I think, 2 hours from now. All right, with that said, let's kick it off. We'll start with lemongrass. And based on lemongrass, we'll talk about, I guess, CIP 10 and 16. And then after that, we'll talk to Ming Pei, who's joining us, talk about CIP 14. And finally, Wondertown will talk about Schwab, which we haven't merged yet and we haven't assigned a number to. But I think this one's going to be 18, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, let's go over lemongrass and where we're at so far. Maybe Evan, you can kick it off. I think there's some kind of discussion about CIP. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's not been really any real changes since the last core devs call. So we're sort of like the lemongrass hard fork is blocked on getting the rest of the CIPs finalized. I think we're still blocked on ICA on determining the two things for ICA, and then the coordinated upgrades. To be abundantly cautious, we're still implementing that, and I don't think that there's going to be any changes, but we could hold off on progressing with CIP 10 if we wanted to be abundantly cautious. Other than that, I don't think that there's any other changes. It's blocked by the 5 CIPs that are included there.
Okay. So sounds good. CIP 10, you want to proceed, and the status of it is currently in review. So that's fine. There's no last call yet. Let's see. Do you guys want to cover CIP 14, given some of the authors are here, about the latest status on CIP 14?
Yeah, I kind of overheard that it was blocked, but Stride already responded on the forum post. I think they just need to translate that into the SIP basically the list of allowed messages, and then we can move this SIP from draft to like in review.
Okay.
Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, Susanna, are you guys gonna plan on updating the CIP 14? I think, based on the
Yeah,
feedback?
I didn't get a chance to look at it in the past couple of weeks, but I will get a chance to do it now. So I'm like not traveling and not on holiday.
Sounds good. All right, so CIP 14 just needs to be updated with feedback from the core and app team. And after that, if it's ready for review, just make a pull request with the changes and just update the status to review. And then the core dev on the core and app team also will give it a review. And anyone else is more than welcome to review it.
Question for Rutul. That was feedback from Stride, right? Not from CoreNapp, or is it from both teams?
It's, I guess there was just basically more discussion on the forum post because this SIP was a little bit ambiguous on the allowed messages. So like after a little bit of back and forth on the forum post, we kind of, at least on the forum post, came to agreement on what the allowed messages should be, but those are on the forum post, not in the SIP. So I guess if we want to review this SIP in isolation without the context of the forum post, we could copy over the allowed messages into the SIP and then move it into review. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Okay, so I think, the action item here is just to review what's on the forum post, all the feedback on what to update, and then Susanna and her team, like the Stride team, will also update it, and then update the status after that to review, and the core and app team can review it after. Okay, so it looks like lemongrass, okay, 5 proposal, one of them still needs testing, which is CIP 10, and then CIP 14, I guess after the updates to the CIP, we can continue reviewing of it and decide what is included in the upcoming lemongrass hard fork. For the timeline of the lemongrass hard fork, it will depend on the implementation and what is decided to be added to the spec. Currently, it's still in draft, so some of these specifications can be removed, given that it's still draft about what to include in it. And yeah, let's see how it progresses with CIP 10 and 14 before we decide whether to add them to lemongrass or remove them, and then we can work out like a timeline for hard fork activation. Moving forward, okay, so we covered CIP 17, 10, I think 14 was the ICA. CIP 16, it makes security-related governance parameters immutable. And this one is submitted by Mingpai Cao. Forgive me if I'm butchering your name, feel free to correct me. But if you like to go over the proposal, feel free to do that right now.
Hello from Hong Kong. I would like to talk about this proposal because at first I would like to say that this proposal requires CIP 13, and we can consider this CIP as a supplement of the CIP 13. In the CIP 13, the global parameters such as from the Cosmos SDK and the modular specific parameters will be governed on-chain. But I noticed that there is an inconsistent in the description of the CIP 13. It's about the max efficient duration of the evidence parameters. The description states that these parameters should equal to the unbounding time, which is 21 days for the Celestia. And the evidence is submitted by the node who find the adversarial behavior, such as double signing the blocks or be offline to the validator. That's why that is a kind of that's why it's a kind of security related. Assume if we allow these parameters on-chain governance, there could be an adversarial on-chain governance proposal changing these parameters. For example, changing the max duration of the evidence value very, very small. So the slashing mechanism for the validator is not effective, which means the validator will not be punished by the double signing behaviors. I would like to provide two support data points for this proposal. The first is osmosis, which is the exchange for the cosmos. In the design of the osmosis, the parameters of the max duration evidence equals to the unbounding period, which is 14 days for that. Another is one of the CCS 23 distinguished award paper, which is analyzing the depose takeover attack happened on Tron blockchain. The root cause is that the attacker control the on-chain governance and pass a advisor proposal to make a profit. So that's why I propose this proposal to make these parameters immutable for the on-chain governance. So that's it. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for the going over the proposal. I'll let the core and app team or any of the people on the consensus layer give any kind of comments or feedback so far.
No, it was really well written, and
The only potential question is like I think there was more general like stream around you want to remove like quite a few of the on-chain parameters, like some of them. So like I mean you can either start. I guess like you can start with this one or something, or we could either we just start with these three, or we make a more holistic approach and decide look at all the parameters that should be removed. If that makes sense.
Sounds good. So I think the feedback so far has been like, this is a great starting point and we can use that as a template for future one that we want to, I guess the word I'm looking for is immutable, make the governance parameter immutable so they can't be modified anymore via on-chain governance. Anyone else? Rutul maybe, or Callum or Evan?
Yeah, I kind of second that this is really well written and also goes in line with, I think, what we've been thinking about on some of the parameters that are currently governance modifiable, it not totally making a lot of sense for them to remain governance modifiable. So yeah, that's really all I have to say.
Sounds good.
I will just note, I think we want to, the max age num blocks is set a little bit low. I actually opened this as a security issue, but it's since been publicized by the Comet security team. But it turns out it's not actually a problem because there's basically an OR between those two values. But currently the max age num blocks is set based on expected block time of, I think, 15 seconds. The blocks are coming a little bit faster, so that instead of being 21 days, it's actually more like 18 or something. So it's just something we might want to fix before making those non-changeable by governance. And also
good.
we should probably make them just over 21 days, just to ensure there's the right amount of time to submit.
Sounds good. I guess that, like, yeah, the kind of feedback that maybe we can add to the forum post, or give it, maybe if it's more like an implementation kind of detail, it's more for the core and app team to keep in mind if they choose to go with this proposal. I guess for next steps here, given that it's still in draft, I would, Mingpei, maybe you can update it to review status, because I think the general feedback has been that it's very well written and stuff. And so maybe move it to review status, and maybe in 2 weeks time, we'll determine if it's something the core dev would want to implement, whether it's part of the lemongrass hard fork or future hard fork and stuff. But I'm kind of curious, what would be the timeline, Evan? Like, I mean, or Callum, realistically speaking, on implementation of this proposal, if it, gets rough consensus?
The implementation is pretty straightforward, unfortunately.
Mhm.
It's more so just making sure that we go through and like what Mustafa said is that we go through and find everything that doesn't need, if there were any other remaining parameters that shouldn't be changed. And like Ethan said, we also need to correct some of the times as well.
Mhm. Okay, that sounds good.
So for a concrete number, like it wouldn't take long to implement. It would be like a week.
Okay.
I have a thought though. Can we adopt this SIP without doing the holistic approach, or like going and revisiting all the other parameters? It seems like that would bloat the scope
Yeah,
of
it's
this
just because I think it makes sense just to start with this without needing to explore all our parameters first.
Okay, I agree.
Sounds good.
Okay, so it sounds like everyone aligned on you're going forward with the SIP without necessarily doing the holistic approach. So Mingpei, I think like for your next step, just update your CIP with just change the status from draft to reviews to market for review. People will give it one more review, and then hopefully in 2 weeks' time, you can attend the call again, and we'll try to get a rough consensus of moving it to last call.
Okay,
and
I'll
stuff.
finish as soon as possible. Thank you.
Well, thank you for writing the CIP. We appreciate it. All right, let's move on. So just wanted to have a number. I think this is going to be 18 because there might be issue with the other one that's 18. We need to talk to the ZK working group, but this is CIP Schwab by Clip. Clip, you want to kick it off?
Sure. So hello everyone, I'm Clip. I'm out of this CAP. It's the first networking CAP, I think, in the our CAP repo. And in short, it's a messaging framework for data availability P2P network that aims to solve a critical inefficiency and standardized messaging between the multiple client implementation of the DA network. So like this CIP describes like pretty well motivation behind it. Like we have an issue with excessive round trips on the network when you do sampling, and this CIP aims that problem, and as well as it defines a messaging framework for so-called share containers and share identifiers. So the data square of Celestia has multiple more abstract data types based on the atomic primitive called share, which includes blobs, rows, namespace data, and so forth. And this CIP defines a way of thinking about all these share groups in containers and special identifiers for them that allows you to exchange and swap these messages around the network for various purposes and needs. One of them is particularly sampling. The sampling and the reconstruction are out of scope of this CIP and are a matter of further CIPs. So this solely purpose on this low-level framework. And that's it. Like if you have any more questions or want to learn more, I'm inviting you to read it up and discuss it on our forum post.
Sounds good. And I guess if people want to be more involved on the data availability working group, they can reach out to Ramin as well, or just message me and I'll connect you to Ramin. If you want to be, because this is, Glib, if I'm not mistaken, this is a result of the DA working group kind of works in, right? Or
Kind of like on a border. The work on the Schwab
Okay.
started slightly before the DA working group, but I think DA working group kind of absorbed it. So you can say so.
Awesome. All right, this sounds good. Did anyone have any feedback or comment on Schwab? I think, how would this be activated again? I think there was conversation about that, Glib, but like if people like, is that more on the DA node side, upgrading to the new version that has swap and migrating all the DA nodes to the new binary, or how would that work?
So we discussed pretty thoroughly the how to strategize around the upgrades, and this is a P2P network 48, which is easier to update, and it's doesn't have consensus breaking changes. So,
Okay.
but you still need to think of that, and we decided against doing any backwards compatible changes in the code itself to support the old protocol, and we decided to abandon the old protocol completely and do the transitioning through the infrastructure. So there will be
Okay.
old and new infrastructure for both versions of protocol running at the same time for a while. And once we know that the majority has migrated, we will cut the old infra off and we'll fully rely on the new protocol.
Okay, that sounds good. So it sounded like, okay, it's more on the DA side and it's not backward compatible. And then the migration will still maintain as a community, both network, like both binaries, the old binary and the new binary, until we have sufficient people upgraded to the new binary. And then the Celestia node team will stop support for the older binaries. Okay.
Exactly.
That sounds good. Anyone had any questions or feedback? It's still in pull request. If you guys can't find it, you can probably find it on the agenda ticket, but we'll merge it hopefully by today. And we'll assign a number to it. It'll probably be CIP 18. And yeah, if there's no more other discussion topics, we can probably end it early, but feel free to let me know if you guys want to talk about anything else.
Yeah, for the
yeah,
CIP9 PFM, sorry. Is there any help that you'll need from the Strangelove team, or do the core devs have it on their own?
For CIP9, if I remember, okay, that's the packet for, and this one went to final status. I would leave that question to Callum, Evan, and Rutul.
Yeah, I can respond. So Nina already started working on this. So we have like a draft PR up on Celestia app. She's out right now, so I feel like when she gets back, she's going to continue working on it. I can share you a link after this if you want to like review it, make sure that we're adopting it correctly. But yeah, I think we're mostly good to go.
Oh, sure, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can also take a run at GitHub. Oh, and then also we are still dependent on the ICA hosts. One, I guess we'll just follow up in the forum conversations on the forum. Yeah.
Let's see. So CIP9 is dependent on CIP.
No, CIP9
14?
isn't. It's just our role trains product is
sorry.
dependent on 14.
12 is dependent on 14.
But we'll continue the conversation in the forum posts. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, on the CIP 14, last like 2 weeks ago, we were discussing whether to add in the controller or not, as well. And then I guess on the forum, the existing proposal is just for hosts, but yeah, then there's been no I guess, should I just write a comment on the forum as well to ask if we should add in controller or not?
Yeah, if you want to, but also at the same time, you got, Evan, Callum, and Rutul here, so maybe you can get feedback also directly.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
My thinking based on the last messages from Stride on that forum post was that this SIP only concerns itself with the host portion. And so the SIP explicitly doesn't enable the controller portion.
Yeah. I guess the only reason I'm asking is because I guess like the protocol is specified already in the IBC specifications repo. But if you wanted to just keep the concerns separated, that's also fine. because it would just be like, for instance, in this CIP, there's already elements that I just copy and pasted in. And I guess Aidan wasn't in the last call. I realized he commented on the posting. Right now it is just concerned with hosts, but there was like the open question at the end of the last Celestia call as to whether we should expand the scope or not.
Right.
think
I
we're sort
remember
of-
that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say that I think we're sort of waiting on like demand for the use of control. So if someone comes with us saying like, hey, here's a use case that we want for Celestia that we think is providing a lot of value, then sure, we will do it. But it seems unnecessary to enable it when we haven't actually got a use case yet.
Okay, got it.
Like we just want to keep the default is to try keep the state machine as minimal as possible, right? And then when actual like requests come in for something and it seems like it's going to provide value for the network, then I think that makes sense to add it.
Okay, cool.
All right, sounds good. Any other discussion items that we haven't covered, or any other thing you guys want to cover?
I had a general request for CIP authors, which is that we try to more clearly early in the CIP state what the parameters are, if any, so that we can easily also update CIP 13, which tracks all of the sort of global parameters, and which will also need to be updated for the lemongrass hard fork. So presumably with lemongrass, we have to go through each CIP and see what all the new parameter changes are going to be. And so if we want to be able to keep 13 easily up to date, it would help a lot if for each CIP, a lot of the CIPs do mention parameters like throughout, but we haven't really standardized a format for them. So it would just be great to if you could make a table in this form at towards the top of the CIP under the specification section that just includes the parameters that CIP will introduce, and most of them do introduce new parameters. That'll just help a lot for keeping 13 up to date and tracking things.
Yeah, I agree. Also, given that it's in draft, they're probably going to move it to review status, and then because the aim of this one is to become a living document, kind of like CIP1, because we always going to continuously update it, and it's a reflection of the mainnet parameters. So yeah, I'll do that for I'll just update the status to review so people can review it as well for CIP13. But yeah, that's really good feedback. I think, we should always try to make sure that, in the specification, what parameters are being changed is pretty clear. And if it gets activated on mainnet, we'll update CIP13 to reflect the up-to-date parameters. Alrighty. Any other comments or feedback? I think we should be good to go. I think for the next call, there might be a few added CIP from the ZK working group, and there might be another proposal from the interface working group if there's a CIP being written at the moment, and then Schwab will have like a number, and then we can start tracking it within the CIP process, and then we can revisit the ICA CIP status and the hard fork upgrade mechanism status, and decide if we want to finalize lemongrass for review before we go proceed with the hard fork. With that said, thank you all for coming. It's been a very productive meeting, and thank you also, Mingpai, for joining us. If you can make it next week, if you're in the Telegram group, you'll get the information about the next call. And yeah, thank you everyone for coming, and I'll talk to you all in 2 weeks.
Thanks all.
See you all.
Bye.
Thank